On this episode of Filmmaker to Filmmaker, what is the state of Hollywood? What are studios looking for? Will AI replace the filmmaker as we know it? And where am I going to show my movie? We talk about this and more on this episode of Filmmaker to Filmmaker. Welcome back to Filmmaker to Filmmaker. I'm your host, B. Anthony. This is the podcast where filmmakers talk to other filmmakers about all things filmmaking. I'm excited to be back. It's a brand new season. A couple of changes. The primary one and the most obvious one is that I am solo, not because I want to be or because my co-host did not want to be here, but Janice wanted to pursue other interests and she's doing great things. I told her that when she is ready to come back and quiz me on all things Black cinema, I will be ready to have her and to talk all things Friday Rush Hour and all the classics. So Janice, this episode is dedicated to you and you will forever be the co-host of Filmmaker to Filmmaker. But as of now, you're stuck with me. So I hope you enjoy how this episode is going. It's an outlook on where the industry is right now. This episode is dedicated to really having an honest conversation about what making movies looks like in this landscape, right? 2026 is here and there's so much going on, right? We have the rise of AI or the rise in use of AI. And then we have the political climate that's going on. And then also studios, they're making some bold moves right now. We have actors who are starting to switch to streaming services. And then theaters, they're trying to adjust to this new normal. And so all the things that make up Hollywood, all the things that we rely on for entertainment is evolving. And so the question then becomes, how do we as filmmakers move through it? And then also what skills, what mindsets, what practices, what do I as a filmmaker need to do in order to survive? I think the big thing that all of us have to acknowledge is that the industry, whether we like it or not, whether we want it to or not, is changing. So if you are part of that generation that remembers watching the Oscars when it was in black and white, or if you're new school and you don't even care about going to the movies and you just watch everything on your cell phone, I don't think one perspective pushes the other aside or is superior. I think the lesson that we are forced to acknowledge is that every perspective matters. And if you're going to make it in the industry, you have to be adaptable. You have to be able to open up your mind and think beyond what you have identified as normal. Okay. And I read an article, 2 articles, as a matter of fact, in the Hollywood Reporter that kind of touches on an array of these topics. And so I'll post them in the bios so that you can check them out and kind of make your own opinion about all of this. I'm always intrigued with these conversations and really seeing how I'm going to evolve, right? As a filmmaker, I've made 4 films, 4 short films, and I'm excited to make more. I'm excited to collaborate and to just expand and to grow in this space. Film is still something that excites me. I love it. I am enthralled with it. I still love going to the theater experience. I just saw The Housemaid and yeah, excellent, right? Because I not only enjoyed the film, but I literally was talking to the persons who I have not met, and we were talking about the film, and they were informing me about, how it's a book, and, they kind of spilled the beans on how the whole series ends, but that's okay. Had I not gone to that movie, that would have been something, a moment like that I probably would not have experienced. So, I love it all. I genuinely love being a consumer of the product and making the product. So I think the main thing everyone is trying to figure out is, how do I get a job in the industry? Present company included, right? What is it going to look like 2026 and beyond if you're saying, hey, I'm going to make films? What do I have to do? Do I have to go spend crazy amounts of money in school? Do I need that master's? Do I need that bachelor's? Do I need any degree at all? What are studios looking for, right? That's a big question that people are pondering on. Or can I just break all the rules and just throw it up on YouTube, right? I think the thing we have to acknowledge is that from the studio side, purchases or acquisitions that they are making as it relates to content, they're looking for a hit, right? I feel like not all studios, but most studios are just trying to find a way to get your money. It's a business. It's the movie business. It's Hollywood, right? So you yes, make the content because you want to tell stories, but at the end of the day, the studio is looking to make money. And so when it comes to what studios are looking for as far as talent and directors and writers and all that jazz, yes, I do believe that they're looking for talent. They're looking for creatives, right? I think the context and how those deals are made and how those things are being done has evolved. Okay. And so as a filmmaker, I think you have to go in with the mindset of not being married to that one path that used to be Hollywood, right? I make my film, okay? Whether you did it independently or you got some investors or, you partnered with someone, however you did it. You make your movie, you enter it into some festivals, a studio picks it up, it becomes a big hit, and then it's on its way to award season, right? That was a time, that was a moment, and I still love all of that. I think right now, you as a filmmaker, I as a filmmaker have to expand, right? And go beyond what we've known. So for example, instead of trying to get your film on the big screen solely, and that's, something I enjoyed seeing my stuff on the big screen, right? Don't be married to that solely, okay? There's so many other measures that you can do to either practice your craft or produce your craft or distribute your craft, right? A new phenomenon that I'm into, and that I'm enthralled by are the microdramas, which is like content that is on mobile platforms. And they're short dramas. They're about 2 to 3 minutes long. Some are longer, and you watch it and it's over the top drama. And the more you go into it, it pulls you in. It's like a little soap opera, or it could be a comedy. It could be anything that you can do content wise for film, but it's just for mobile platforms, right? You have video podcasts, you have branded storytelling. The risk that people are afraid to take is that no one really knows how it's going to turn out, right? These are very, very ambitious projects. And if you're not familiar or used to doing things like that, it could be scary for the traditional filmmaker, right? New filmmakers or people who are younger or who are keeping up with technology, they see it as an opportunity. Okay, how fast can I tell this story? How fast can I produce this story? And keep building my audience with whatever I'm creating. And so I think you have to have flexibility, right? You have to really be open to an array of opportunities that, if you stay connected and consistent with it, it could lead you to the big screen. So I think that as filmmakers, we definitely have to be open, right? I think that's the first thing that I'm taking away from the articles that I've been reading. And then theaters, I think, your expectation to getting to the theater, keep that as a long-term goal. Keep it as a goal, however long it takes, right? But I also think you have to be open. We have to be open as filmmakers to saying, okay, until I get to the big screen, what's the best way to tell my story? What platforms are working? YouTube. The Oscars are about to go on YouTube, right? So that's still an option. Social media. You have the ability to build your own website and distribute your movies that way. You have so many movie apps now that the sky's the limit. Tubi. You can put anything on Tubi and build an audience that way, right? So I think theater distribution is awesome. I think that as filmmakers, we should never let that go. I think that until you get there, make it work the best way that you can. Also, keep in mind that if you're trying to get to the theaters, it might be a little bit harder because, as I said with the last nugget, everyone is trying to make money. Everyone, and by everyone, I mean theaters primarily, they are looking for something that's going to get people into the seats, right? And not to say that that is not your content, but they're looking for a guaranteed hit. So what does that look like? Comic book movies, video game movies. I think video game movies and anime are going to be the way to go. And if you understand that space, if you love that space, and you like making films, the sky's the limit. Okay. I also think adaptation, again, The Housemaid is a book, so that's not off the table just yet as far as like getting your movie out there. And then, IPs that have already been established. Dune is releasing something. Nolan's about to release a new film. And then the Avengers, they're coming back, right? So traditionally and previously, those things have been guaranteed to get people in the seats. Okay. However, when setting goals and markers and things to try to go after, don't dismiss smaller venues, right? There are so many ways to build and to get people to come out to support you. You can rent a space, right? And put on a theatrical experience and God knows where. There's so many like halls and community centers where people will come to watch your movie. Local film festivals are still a thing, but there's so many free festivals that quote unquote aren't award qualifying, right? But it's an opportunity to share your content. So look on Film Freeway, find opportunities to not only share the film, but to network with other filmmakers and then just to see what other people are doing, right? So something else that I thought was extremely interesting was the conversation about unions. And the big takeaway for me, whether you're an actor, you're a director, whether you find yourself to be drawn to business or not, all of us in this industry have to understand the business of filmmaking. You have to understand your unions. You have to understand how deals are structured now. You have to understand advertising. You have to find and understand markets that might relate to your content or might be more open to your content, more so than the traditional means, right? You have to understand how to pay for everyone who's supporting you and how to build those relationships, right? Whether you go to workshops or if you're just reading the Hollywood Reporter or any Hollywood trade paper, make sure you just understand how the industry is moving. Make sure you understand residuals and, how studios and actors are making money on the back end after their content is produced, right? You just want to be clear that if you're doing this, that you're not just stopping with the art of filmmaking, but you truly understand the business of filmmaking. Okay. And specifically with unions, understand the rules and guidelines. Understand how they are advocating for you. Understand if there's something they're not talking about or if there's something that you're seeing, bring it to their attention. Do research. Everyone's talking about AI, and that's a very, very valid conversation to have. And educate yourself on what AI is. Don't just be afraid of it, but embrace it. I did that. I took some AI courses and I'm understanding, the potential value in it. And then I'm also understanding the dangers with it, right? And so I think like with any new tool, you just have to be clear on how you intend to use it. The other thing that I think is going to evolve or not look the same as how awards are selected, how people are selecting, or valuing award platforms. I'm a kid of the 80s and 90s. I love the Oscars. I enjoy watching the Oscars. It is my Super Bowl. That's what I tell people. And so I get excited whenever I see the nominations. I'm excited about the nominations that were just released. And we'll talk about that in a later episode. I love the Golden Globes. I love the Critics' Choice, SAG. I am an awards fiend. I think, though, people are becoming hip to the fact that because these awards are supposed to honor and the cinematic achievements of, these storytellers, that there is some biases, whether, implicit or not, that are there for certain films because pick a reason. Hollywood tends to honor films for reasons that don't always stop with the content. And while I don't think that's true for all of the movies that are being released, here's the reality that every cinephile and filmmaker knows. Whatever film you enjoyed in 2025, the probability of it being celebrated by the industry is not there. And so, you have to be okay with knowing that if you do make this movie, right, if you do produce whatever content, the chances of it being acknowledged by the industry, you have to understand that it might not be. And it doesn't mean that anything's wrong with it. For example, my favorite film was Lurker last year, and I wanted more people to see it, but fast forward to today, when you're looking at all the awards, that film was nowhere mentioned, right? And I'm not saying it's the best thing since, Ben-Hur or something like that. But I just feel like that was a movie that needed a chance, like to shine a little bit more. But it didn't get acknowledged. So where do you put weight into awards? I think you acknowledge it. If it happens, great. If not,
that's okay too. I think the focus has to be on, making your movie, building your audience, and then continuing to repeat whatever process that leads you towards success. So that's just something else to keep in mind. And then also embrace TV, news, and nonfiction. I know that's hard. People are looking for platforms to educate. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, be mindful of how things are being advertised. Know how to get the message out there. Don't just stop with social media, but it is still proven the best way to tell people about what it is you're working on is word of mouth. So, keep that in mind. Video podcasts. If you are a filmmaker, you can definitely make money doing video podcasts and content creation on YouTube. That is still a big market, and people are making podcasts about everything, and they need people with filmmaking skills and video production skills to help with that. So again, something to think about as a filmmaker, right? Overall, I feel like when it comes to where we are, there are a couple of things that we as filmmakers have to keep in mind. In 2026, it's not about perfection. It's not about permission. It's not even about nostalgia, right? Those things were cool in the past. I think right now you have to be adaptable, you have to be clear, and you have to work towards ownership. I don't believe the industry is ending. I don't. And I think what is ending is gatekeeping. I think that people now with the cell phone have the power and the ability to make whatever content that they want and find their audience. But you have to let go of those traditional models. Then embrace these new rules that are being written for our industry. On other days where you have to do it this way, right? Make movies the way that you want. Educate yourself. Still be aware of the story structure, 3-act structure, but play around with it. I think that's why I like Quentin Tarantino. He knows the rules, but he breaks the rules and he plays with expectations and archetypes, and it works for me. So there's that. In the end, the filmmaker who survives won't be the loudest. It'll be the one that is most prepared. So what does that mean? Go to YouTube University. Learn as much as you can. If you can't do workshops or programs, find a way to educate yourself. The library is still open, y'all. So you can go to the library, get books, and educate yourself, okay? So I'm going to put a pause here and end this episode, and hope that something I said or did in this episode encouraged you to keep going after your filmmaking dreams. Looking forward to talking to you about filmmaking. And yeah, my name is B. Anthony, and thank you for listening to Filmmaker to Filmmaker.